Hi, it's May 29th, 2016, 5:25 p.m. And the set of web pages that I'm working on now is basically you've got this initial login page right here, and this is my landing page. It's my index page. I'm going to go over the code for this. I'm going to go over the code for the other pages later, but this video is going to revolve around this one. Just to recap what this entire system does is you have a login page here, and as long as what you type in the username and password is correct and you click login, it opens up this, where on the left with the green background you've got a navigation section. Here you've got a drop down list where if you click on a letter, like let's click on G, over here to the right you see the G page. Well, there's another way to navigate. Besides that, we have all of these images. So let's click on an image. This is actually an image link. So if I click on kite, you see the K page with a kite on it. If I go back up here to the drop-down list, remember G is the last page that we looked at, you'll see that I have an on-click event that turns the background of these options to white. And so that way you know which of these you've already looked at. And I have an on-click event for these image links as well. The border to the image changes color when you click on them. So let's try the F. Okay, so now you see the frog in the F page. Let's click on the N. You see the N for nest. So as long as you don't refresh the page or close and come back, you will get to see at a glance what pages you've already looked at. And then the third one we have down here, these are list items. And I've styled the list item tags as such that they kind of look like buttons. And I also have on-click events for them as well. So let's try the L. See, it opens up the L page here and the background turns white. Let's try the X. We have the xylophone here. And lastly, let's try the Z. You got zebra here. So you see three different ways to navigate through the system. Now, obviously, you don't need to have three different ways to do the same thing, but these are just options, different ways you can do it. A fourth option is the backward and forward links right here. And these are just basically your typical link tags. And the backward obviously does what it says. It takes you backward through the list of the alphabet, and forward obviously takes you forward. Okay, so the four different ways to navigate through alphabet pages. So let me get out of here. All I want to focus on is the login page at this point. So I don't need to look at home. I don't need index, which is my index page, and my style, my CSS styles. So let's get out of this. I want to keep the image up, the output in the browser. I want to rip apart the index page and the style. So I'm going to have a total of 3 pages here. All right, now I go down here, right click, and show window side by side. Okay, I'm going to start at the top of the index page, which is what you see right here. Remember, anything that you see in green, those are commented out. For a CSS style sheet, as shown here at the left, in order to make a comment, you have the /* before the comment, and you finish the comment with an */. That's how you make a comment in your CSS style sheet. See the extension style.css? Well, now in the center here, this is index.html. This is your web page code, your hypertext markup link. To make a note in HTML, it's a little bit different. This is how you do it. You have a less than symbol, an exclamation point, a dash, then you go on ahead and do your little note, and then to finish your note, it's a dash, and a greater than sign. So those are just 2 things that I want to point out. It's different to make a comment in different file types. You've got different ways to do it. And remember, when you see green, ignore it. It's either something I have used in the past or might want to use in the future, but I'm not currently using it in my code right now. There is the HTML beginning. If I go all the way down here, you see there it is at the end. Here's our head tag. and the head tag goes from there to there. Again, these links that link to scripts are not being used, but what is being used is my title tag that says login please, and you could see it right up here, the words login please. Then we've got this link to a shortcut icon, which gives me this smiley face up here in the browser tab. That's nothing new. Then I've got the link to my style sheet, which is over here on the left. Again, I'm not using these JavaScripts. And if I was using the JavaScripts, I was going to have a body on load and call two functions, the greeting function and the start time function, but since I'm not using those functions, I've commented them out, but I still need my body tag. Alright, so there's my body tag. The first div we encounter is div with an ID of landing page and a class of centered. So it's got an ID and a class. So let's look in the style sheet at both the ID and the class. First of all, at the beginning of our style.css for the body, these are some styles that I gave it: the background color of black, which you can see, margin 0 pixels auto, padding 10 pixels, text align center, and color white. You see the words login here in the web page. The login here is not inside any paragraph tag or any span tag. It's not inside anything except for this div, which is inside of the body. So because I gave body the color white, the words login here gave an output of white right here. If I were to change this to lime and save it and then refresh the page, well, that actually doesn't look lime at all. It looks blue. Maybe that's because I don't know why it's really supposed to look lime. Maybe it's an illusion because lime over top of this blue. Let's try something different. Let's try yellow. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see. It doesn't. What about red? Okay, that actually changed that username and password. It changed all three of these things. And this was a color that was given to the style of the body. I just wanted to show you that, how it trickled into more than one thing. But I don't want it to be red because that's horrible. So I'm going to turn it back to white. All right. Here's our pound landing page. That means ID landing page. And here's the styles I gave for that, which is this actual with a blue background, a width of 300 pixels, a background color of blue, a border of 10 pixels blue outset, padding of 20 pixels, padding bottom of 35 pixels, margin 0 auto, border radius 20 pixels, float left and text align center. Now let's look for the class centered, which is actually next. Dot, and then the name stands for class. Dot stands for class, pound stands for ID. So dot centered means class equals centered. And this is the set of styles for that. This I just found today on the internet. I've never used this transform translate style before, and I thought I would try it in this. Position is fixed, top is 50%, and left is 50%. And then transform colon translate, negative 50%, comma, negative 50%. And what that does is, if I open this full page, it takes whatever I'm applying that style to, and it centralizes it. It's supposedly an easy way to center whatever it is you want to center, so it seems to work good for me, at least in this particular browser, so I'm using it. Alright, so this div has landing page, which is all of this, and it's got dot centered. Anything I want to center, I guess I would use this. If I have too many things that are nested inside of each other and I use centered for each of them, I'm not sure how that would work because I did have multiple divs nested earlier and it kind of screwed things up. So as long as you keep it simple, this dot centered class works okay. If you have too many layers, I can't guarantee your results. You just got to fiddle with it and see. Okay, again, I'm not using any of this. The text login here, as you can see, login here. And here's my audio tag. Audio, and I'm using the attribute controls because I want to be able to see the controls. I don't have auto for autoplay and I don't have loop. Just have audio and controls. Then I have source, this right here, source src equals, and then inside of my folder I have another folder called box, and inside of that folder I have another folder called sound, and inside that sound folder I have password.mp3, an audio snippet that I created, and I'll let you hear it in a second here when I'm done reading this. And if and type equals audio /mpeg, and if you're using an older browser, then you'll get this message: your browser does not support the audio element. This is an HTML5 specification. Okay, so there's my little audio control, which in my CSS, if we look up audio, a quick way to do this in Notepad++ is to go into whatever file, go to the search, go to find, and what I want to find is, without scrolling up and down through all the code, I want to find audio. So find next, and it takes me straight to my audio style. So here for my audio tag, in my style sheet, I gave my audio tag a width of 100% and a background color of lime. So everywhere I have an audio player here, that plays an MP3 file, it's going to be green. If I want to change that to red and save it and then refresh the page, now everywhere you see the audio player, it'll be red. If I want to change it to blue, then you get blue. I don't know, some of these colors kind of have like a bit of a transparency to them, so they seem, yeah, see, this was supposed to be yellow, but it's kind of like a transparent type of yellow that over top of blue gives it more of a greenish look to it. So that was yellow. This is green, which it is a type of green. I want to think that lime made it stand out even more because it's a brighter, almost a more neon color. See, that gave it a brighter greenish look, if you ask me. So you can just play around with different colors to stylize your audio tag if you want. Alright, so there's my audio tag, audio controls here. And now after the audio tag here, I'm putting all the rest of this in a table. Okay, I also stylized table. So let me go here into my CSS again and hit search, find, and type in table, find next. And it's saying it can't find the table, and I know I stylized table. Okay. Right here's table. I don't know why I couldn't find it. But anyway, so everywhere that I have a table, it's going to use these styles. Border of 10 pixels white outset. And it's this right here. And it's got a strange shape because I have the top corners, regular squared corners, and then when you get to the bottom left corner, there's a slight bit of rounding, so I'm using a border radius, but I think this is probably like 20 pixels or so, 10 or 20 or 10, 15 or 20 pixels. And then over here you see a greater rounding of this corner because I think I used a higher border radius, like somewhere between 30 and 50. It gives us much more rounding. And I just wanted to do that to show you that you can style any corner that you want of your division or whatever your element is. And this is how I did that. Well, let's start back at the top of the styles for table. Border 10 pixels of white outset, width 100%, and that's 100% of whatever divider it's in. Height is 100%. Padding is 3 pixels. Margin bottom I set to a -15, and I'll show you why. If I Z this out, misspell it, save it, and then refresh it, I got like an extra bit of space at the bottom that I didn't really want to have. And I suppose it doesn't really look bad to leave that. I don't really need to keep the margin bottom there, but I wanted to pull that in and make it a little more evenly all the way around. So that's the reason that I did that. Just fiddling with the margin specifications. Here is how you do a specific corner. Border dash bottom dash left dot dash radius. Instead of border radius 20 pixels, border dash bottom dash left dash radius. So that's this right here. This one here is 20 pixels. And the next one is the bigger curve, border dash bottom dash right dash radius, 50 pixels. So the bigger the number for your border radius, the rounder your corner. All right, that's enough of that. Here, back at my table, here's the TR tag for the first table row. And inside that first table row, we've got a TD, which stands for table data cell. And in that single table data cell, I have 1, 2, 3 images. And you can see apple, bike, and cat. 3 images. Here's the first image. IMG class equals round top left. Class round top left. Doesn't seem like this is rounded at the top or the left, so maybe I got rid of that class. Let's look up round top left. Search, find round top left. Find next. And I'm not using it. I've commented it out right here. Now, if I take the comment off of it for a moment, save it, and refresh this, you can see how this image right here, the top left went round. Well, I didn't really need to round this one because I only rounded this corner, so I wanted this bottom one to match. But keeping this rounded up here doesn't match the table's pointed corner, so that's why I just commented this out. So since I'm not actually using it, I can take this class right out of here. I don't need to give that tag a class. Image border equals 0, source equals box / images / a.jpg. So this image right here, let me refresh this to get that point back. Now the point's back. In the folder called box is another folder called images, and in there is a.jpg, and that's what this apple image is. Uppercase, lowercase a picture of an apple, and the word apple underneath. That's pulling in that picture. Title equals A means when I hover over this image, you see the tooltip with a capital A pop up. And Alt equals image link. What that will do, all of these say image link, but if I wanted to be specific, I would say apple picture. Whoops. Apple picture, okay? And let's misspell my Apple image. I'll put a Z in front of it. So we do not have an image called za.jpg. So then when I refresh the page, well, you can't see it because this whole thing squished down, but if it didn't squish down like this, you can kind of see where it might say Apple picture, but the border's in the way, so you can't see. That's what the Alt does. If anything happens to your pictures, a picture gets accidentally deleted out of a folder, it's supposed to be there based on the code, but somehow the image is gone. So that set of words is supposed to let the user know what was supposed to be there. I'm just gonna go back to what it was. Image link. Okay. And here's my second image. Image, border equals 0, source equals box, / images, / b.jpg. That's this image right here with a bike. Title equals B again. Hover over it, you see the tooltip B. Alt equals image link. In case something happens to the picture, the words image link will be there. And here's the third picture. Image class equals round bottom left. Now you see this bottom left of the image is rounded. So right here is the class for round bottom left. This is how I rounded just that corner. I made a class called dot round bottom left so that if I have any element and all I want to do is round the bottom left corner, then I can just give it this class and it'll use this style. I don't have to keep writing this style over and over and over again. I just have to add this class to the tag. Border bottom left radius 7 pixels. So it kind of fit in here and kind of looks like it kind of looks right for the curve. So yeah, class round bottom left, border 0, source box images c.jpg, title C, alt image length. Again, you hover over this and you see the C. Okay, and there's the end of that table data cell. Then we have another table data cell, and that's this section right here. Row span equals 3. This, if I were to give this border color, it would take up this whole space over here, but I don't have a border for it. It takes up 3 rows. There's a form inside. There's the opening form tag, and here's the ending form tag. Because we're using form elements, we're using these input boxes here, and we're using buttons. So whenever you're using these input text boxes and buttons, you want to put that in a form tag. Plus, I have JavaScript, I believe. I'll have to find it, but I think it's right after here. Yeah, I have JavaScript that uses that form that actually validates what the user types in, that it's the proper username and proper password to allow us to go to the next page. And I'll go over that in a second. But let's just do this form part. Again, there's the table data cell, row span of 3, form name equals login, ID equals log. ID equals log. I had to come up with a style for the form because for some reason my images here on the left were smashing up against these text boxes and buttons. There was no nice little padding in between them, and I tried to put a margin, I tried to do different things, I couldn't do it. So I just needed to come up with a style where I could style this section over here. And if I go to the ID equals log, that means I have to look for #log. I can go to search in this style.css, search, find. Now let's look for log, find next. Why is it saying it cannot find? Maybe I have to hit dot first. .log? That's very strange. Search, find, log. Oh well, there's some kind of configuration that's acting stupid. So look for #log, pound, so it'll be blue, #nav2, pound, where is #log? There it is, #log. Let's fix this a little bit. Make it a little easier to read. Okay, I Z'd out the border so I wouldn't have to look at it, but whenever I create a style for an element, first thing I do is I give it a border with some strange, obnoxious color so that it stands out on my page. So the first thing I did is I gave this form the ID of log, then I came over here and put #log in my style, and then I gave it a border so I can see where I was. So let's go ahead and refresh the page so you can see the border. I also gave it a margin of 10 pixels so that it would have 10 pixels on the outside of it where stuff wasn't smashing into it, and then I gave it a padding of 5 pixels so that on the inside of the border we have 5 pixels of space so that there would be nothing being smashed on the inside of that border. If I misspell log so that these styles do not get applied, as if I didn't even make this special style, and then I refresh the page, now you can see why I had to create that style. You see how all this stuff was smashing up against my images? I didn't want that. So I had to create a style and move stuff over. And what I don't need is I don't need to see the border. So I could either erase this entire line of the border, or I can just simply Z it out, and by misspelling it, it won't read the border color. So there I achieved my space the way I wanted to, rather simply. Okay, ID log. All right, so then we have the word username, as you can see here. And right after that, we have this input, type equals text, name equals user ID, and placeholder equals you. Placeholder equals you gives me this U, this light gray U, that starts off when the page is first loaded. I don't have to have that. I have that for the user's benefit. So even though I read this snippet here, I'll let you hear the snippet real quick. Type your username and password here. If you don't have one yet, click U for username and P for password until you get them. Okay, so that was the audio snippet. I had to move my speaker, take the headphones off and put the headphones by the speaker. Anyway, by being light gray like this, it just kind of shows you what you're supposed to type in those areas. And when you, since this is a password box, when you type in P, you don't see it, you just see this little dot. And you hit login, and then it will accept it. I'm not going to do it right now. I want to read the rest of this code. But that's what the placeholder attribute is for when you're making text boxes like that. You don't have to have it. That's just for the user's benefit. You just kind of like the title. You don't have to have a little A pop up or a little B pop up, but you can if you want to. And then the next little section I have is the word password, as you can see right here. And then you've got your input tag, input type equals password. Again, the type here was text. That's why you've seen the text as you typed it. This type is password, so you do not see it. You just see a dot here. Type equals password, name equals PSWRD, and placeholder equals P. Same thing as the other one. You don't have to have the placeholder. That's just if you want a hint for the user in the box already so that they know what to type in. Then HR stands for horizontal rule. And I have an HR in here somewhere. I really would rather this search would work, but since it hasn't for the other things, I hate scrolling when I'm making a video. Let me try it again anyway. HR, can't find the text HR. That's just so stupid. Body, landing page, nav, UL, form, iframe, class roundest, HR, right here, color white. I could put any color I want. I could say color red. All it is a little line. All it is a little line there. See, now it's red. You could also make it bigger. You can put a padding on it. Let's say padding 20 pixels. Now it looks actually like a box, which could kind of freak the user out because they're not going to know what that is for. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to make anything strange where the user will be like, is that something I'm supposed to type in? What is that? But yeah, you can make weird stuff on a page and make people not have a clue. So that's a horizontal rule. I just did it to make a little line. And then it just puts a little more space also between my text box and my buttons. I thought it looked kind of nice. You could also determine how long or short you want the line. You could give it a width and so on and so forth. All right, let's get back to the button. Input type equals button, on click equals, and here is a function. And right here's a script, so we're going to find out what that function is in a minute. The name of the function is check, and then inside parentheses this dot form, and then the value equals login. Okay, so there's that button right here. When you click the login button, it's going to run this function called check form. Then you have another input, another box, a button. Input type equals reset, value equals cancel, and that's your little cancel button here. And that's the end of the form. Everything that was contained in that red border that I made the red border go away. And here's the JavaScript. So we have the form first with the form elements. They've loaded first, and once they've loaded on the page, then down here underneath it we've got the script. It's going to do something with it. So script language equals JavaScript. That's the opening JavaScript tag. Function, check, and in parentheses form. And this is a note that says function to check user ID and password. And here's the beginning opening curly brace. It's going to start our function. Here's another note that says the following code checks whether the entered user ID and password are matching. So if you just ignore the green stuff, function check form, curly brace, and then we've got this if condition right here. Now, it might be easier if I open this up so that you can see it a little bit better. If form.userid.value, and then you have the double equal sign, equals you, and form.password.value, or PSWRD for short, .value, you have the double equal sign here, means if it is equal to P. Okay, so this is one way that you could pass. If your user ID value is a U and the password value is a P, and this symbol right here means or. So this gives you another possibility. If the form user ID value equals Lisa and the form password value equals green, so I gave it two possibilities. So you could hit U and you could hit P and you could hit login and it'll let you go to the next area. Or you could hit wrong and you can hit wrong and hit login and you get error, password, or username, and which I'll show you next. That's going to be here, this alert, error, password, or username. If these things aren't true, then that's why you get this error here. Okay, so if everything in this parentheses is true, then you get this, which is going to open that next window that I just showed you when I hit login. Window.open box/pages/home.html. That's the page I want to open if the username and password are correct. I want to see something else out of curiosity. I'm going to say copy. I'm going to go underneath this. Window.open. Let me see if I can put it http://www.myway.com, and let me comment this little one out. I know this works, but I want to see out of curiosity if this will open up as long as the username and everything is correct. So username U, password P, login. And it did. It took me to the My Way site. So you could require a user and a password to basically direct you to any site, provided, to any address that you want, provided they match whatever it is that you want them to match with their if condition. All right, so I don't need to keep that anymore. I just want to show you how to do it if you wanted to. Let's take this comment off. All right, save this and save this. Okay, so again, if all of this is true, And because this is or, it means if one side is true or the other is true, then the whole statement is true. Then this is how we open the window. If it's not true, then you get this else, which gives us the alert in parentheses and double quotes, error password or username, and then that ends the script. So you only have two choices. You have to either match whatever the expected username and password are to open up a certain page, or to open up basically a certain page, or else you get an error message. That's all that this does. Let me go back. Whoa. Let me go back the way I was. Okay, that ends the script, that ends the table data cell, that ends the table row, that ends the table, that ends the div called a landing page, it ends the body, and it ends the HTML. So for this little login page, doesn't have a whole lot going on. It's got a little JavaScript in there. It's got a little multimedia with an audio snippet. And it's pretty simple, pretty short. And it's just the one aspect of this whole site that I created. So with that, I'm going to close out of this. I'm going to close up the index page, and the next video that I do, here's the index page. It's inside of the box, inside of pages. It's called home.html. That's the next one I'm going to go over, because that also uses the style.css. So that'll be the next one. Let me close out of this.